Hey guys, how's it going? I am down here with Audi UK to try out the brand new B9 RS4 behind me. I posted something on Instagram recently asking my followers to see what they wanted me to try out, and top of the list was driving dynamics and also the engine sound to see if the new 2.9 bi-turbo V6 sounds anywhere near as good as the outgoing V8. So let's get behind the wheel and see how this baby performs. Hey guys, welcome to the 2018 Audi RS4. This is actually the 4th generation of the brilliant RS4, or the 5th generation if you count the brilliant and original RS2. I've had this car for about an hour, so I'm fairly familiar with it. What I want this test most to be about is its driving dynamics. There are plenty of other videos already on the internet telling you about the tech and all the brilliant stuff that goes on inside the cabin. I would like to point out that Audi does the best cabins, they really do, and this is just no disappointment. The one negative that I've found from having this car for an hour, and I found this in a recent RS5 that I test drove, was the seats that are in the RS models are just a bit too small. Now I'm 6'3", and as you can see my head is a good 3 inches above the back of the headrest, and there is no adjustment on that, so that's the only negative. But we'll leave that because the rest of the car, as far as I've found out, is just brilliant. Now I'm in comfort mode at the moment in drive, and it's just, you know, it feels to me like a very capable A4, if you like. It's just beautiful, quiet, does its things, goes about its duties. Now let's just talk a little bit about the history of the RS4, because I know when I first heard about this one at the back end of 2017, and I heard that it had the 2.9 V6 bi-turbo in it, I was a little bit disappointed, as I'm sure a lot of you RS fans were. You know, we wanted it to come with the V8, but as things are going, as emissions are tightening, etc., unfortunately the trend at the moment is downsizing. Now at least we haven't gone to a 4-pot like the current Boxster and Cayman range. At least they've stuck to a nice sounding V6. And also what I need to add to that is, when this car was originally produced, I think the Mark 1 RS4, if you like, that particular car had a 2.7 bi-turbo V6 in it. And then the next generation, the B7, which is probably the standout car for most people. It's the car that I fell in love with, in fact, when Clarkson test drove it in the Alps that time and raced that speed climber up and down that incredible mountain. That had the brilliant 4.2 V8, produced about 415, 420 brake horsepower. They then went to the B8. Now, the B8 was a brilliant looking car. It retained the 4.2 V8 they changed it slightly. It produced about 450 brake horsepower in that format, and obviously the biggest change really with those two cars was in the B7 it was only available in manual, and in the B8 it was only available in S-tronic. Now this particular car has actually got the Tiptronic box, I think they call it, and effectively it's a ZF 8-speed gearbox, and I go on about the ZF 8-speed a lot on my channel because it is just brilliant, and a lot of people are going that way. In fact, the new M5 is essentially a ZF 8-speed. So yeah, we've then had to downsize with this car, the 2.9 V6 bi-turbo. It's a hot turbo, so the turbos are in the middle of the V for efficiency, etc. And I have to say, I thought I was going to be quite disappointed with this, and on videos that I've seen it sounds a little bit gruff, but from inside the cabin, whether there is some trickery going on in here or whatever, it does sound really good. And the performance, I mean, yes, it produces the same brake horsepower figure, but the torque figures are up by something silly. I think they're up by about 30%, and it feels so much quicker. On top of that, this car like for like is actually about 80 kilos less than the previous gen RS4, and you could feel that again in the corners. Also, it has a lot of trickery like torque vectoring and stuff, but I thought I wouldn't be too blown away by its handling and its dynamics, but I tell you what, this thing is unbelievable. So let's now take it out of comfort. On the drive select mode down here, there's probably one on the steering wheel, but I'm not too much of an Audi expert, so I'll just use the one down here. So we'll come out of comfort, there's auto, we'll go straight into dynamic, and in fact we've got sports automatic down here, but let's put it into manual. I love being in manual, you know, when I'm pushing on, and shift down a couple of gears. You can already hear it there. Now we're in third, we'll just put our foot down out of here and listen to that. Now I've actually got the stability control completely off, because you can actually get the car, sliding mid-corner. Now I'm on a public road, so I'm not going to drive like too much of a fool, but I did get it to get into a very nice, even, steady drift, or balanced drift earlier on, and that was great for me. In terms of getting it to understeer, I actually haven't managed to. The grip levels, so we got the Sport Contact, or Sport Conti 6s on this, which I've never tried before, and they just seem absolutely mega. Come in here, it's just brilliant. You put your foot down, and that all-wheel drive Quattro system, it just fires you out. And I have to say, it is the most focused and precise RS product I've ever tried. You know, the current RS6 is amazing, but that thing is, you know, up around the 2-ton mark, also sits a little bit higher, and you do feel its mass when you really start pushing on, whereas this thing, when you start pushing on, it is a pocket rocket. Aesthetically, it, you know, that's a subjective thing. I still think it looks very good. Maybe not quite as special as it could have done, but we all know the brands, you know, BMW with the new M5, they're trying to make them more and more subtle, not fit in with the range. Those who know will know, but they're just not, wow, look at me, I'm an RS product. But I guess that's good and bad, you know. I quite like that. I like the fact that, you know, someone might walk past this in the street, or majority of people walk past it in the street, they might look at it and go, oh, that's nice, but they're not going to look at it and go, oh, look at that. Do you know how capable that car is? Talking of capable, this car, so in terms of spec, the base price for this car is about 62 grand in the UK. Now they do a carbon edition that's 72 grand, and as far as I can see, that just comes with a lot of carbon sort of exterior options and a pack inside, and some really special lightweight wheels. They save about 4 kilos a corner, which doesn't sound like much, but that's unsprung weight. So yeah, that particular car is obviously going to perform a little bit better, but for an extra 10 grand, I think the base car is pretty special. Now this one's also had the speed limiter lifted, so as opposed to your typical 155 mile an hour top speed that most German cars are limited to these days, this one's been lifted to 174 miles an hour. But I'm in no doubt with the torque and power that this 2.9's got. I reckon this is a close to 200 mile an hour car. The gearbox is good. It's still, it doesn't want to shift down as early as I want it to sometimes, but otherwise it's pretty good. Right, we're coming into a de-restricted area now, so let's give it some beans. Let's really hustle this car. Remember, it's a, you know, it's a 1700 kilo estate car. Let's go. Look at that. Brakes are good. It's really planted. Now, this hasn't got the optional carbon ceramics, which are an extra £6 grand, but to be fair, on the road, do you need them? Probably not. It's just brilliant. Really is good. And for once, the ride. Audi, when you normally put an Audi in dynamic, it just becomes unbearable on the British roads. Now, these roads are definitely not smooth, but the dampers are really good. They're riding the bumps really well. The brakes are brilliant. And let's see if we can get it to slide a little bit in there. No, just perfectly balanced. No understeer, but yet no oversteer. I'm sure in the wet you could get this thing properly sideways if you wanted to, if the roads permitted you to. But it's brilliant. You know, I'm forgetting that I'm in an estate car, and that to me is really important. Not just an estate car, it's a very spacious car. You know, it's a perfect car for the family. And as I go on about so many times, like, I would so much prefer one of these over any SUV. It's in another league, and I really think this one dynamically is just brilliant. This is the RS6 is a weapon, and it's faster than this in a straight line. You know, it does things that just defy gravity. But with an RS6, after owning 6 months down the track, you wouldn't jump in that and take it for a Sunday morning blast while the kids and the wife are still asleep or whatever. The kids probably wouldn't be asleep, but you know what I mean. Whereas this car, it really is a sports car. It's a sports car in an estate show, and that's what the RS4 should be. That's what I think of as an RS4. That's what RS4 should always be. Audi are just beautiful places to be. They're beautiful objects. And the thing that usually lets Audis down, especially the sportier models, is they're a little bit numb to drive. And you know, I will say that. I will say that whilst testing this car. But this is something special. It really is. They've engineered, and it's great in this day and age that they really have gone to town with this car. And I was not expecting it. I really wasn't. I've been a passenger in the RS5, which is basically this car, you know, and I just wasn't blown away by it. I wasn't. But I'm getting behind the wheel of one of them in Australia in a couple of weeks, so maybe I'll change my mind, because if it's anything like this, this is just brilliant. It really is. It's so fast. The old one wouldn't have a chance against this. It's that torque, the mid-range torque. And then it revs out anyway, and when you turn it in, you just keep turning it in, keep turning it in. I have to say, this chassis and suspension setup are spot on. And also, I think these Sport Contact 6, I had heard good things about them, and they seem to be doing a very good job. Driving position's good, cabin space is really good. You can fit 2 of me behind. I'm not familiar with the MMI system, and to me, because I use it all the time, I really think that the iDrive is a better system. But I'm sure if I was an Audi owner, or if I had this car for a while and got used to all the sort of controls and stuff, I would probably like the MMI just as much. The graphics, etc., have come a long way. The virtual cockpit is brilliant. People go on about it all the time. It's, you know, it's one of those things. I honestly think head-up display is the future, but if you want a nice looking dashboard, then this is one to have in your car. Right, for this last bit of the video, I just thought we'd do some driving clips, just push on, see what it feels like, see what it sounds like. So I'm in sports, so I'm in dynamic, I'm in manual. Let's just push on. This is a nice bit of road, so that 3rd gear. Really good on the brakes, really stable. Turn in. here, getting the brakes a bit early. Car settles so well, revs all the way out. Really, really good bit of kit coming in here. There's this hard brake into here, very damp. I can feel the ABS triggering a little bit. Hit the limiter there, didn't change quite quick enough. But it's just brilliant. Brilliant. Try the brakes. Stops on a f***ing dime. As we're here, we might as well try a bit of launch control. I'm not sure how to trigger it in this. I think you turn everything off. I'm going to hold it on the brakes anyway. And then off we go. 60. Well, I have no doubting that this car is a 0 to 60 in 4 flat car. Absolutely no doubting at all. Just brilliant. Foot on the floor, and here we go. Oh, it's so fast. Back into manual. It's just brilliant. Well, hats off to you, Audi. This is a brilliant product. This is the best RS product I've ever driven. It's a fantastic estate car, and I honestly can't fault it. Aside from the silly seats that are just too small for someone like me, they're comfortable, they're supportive, they're everything. The cabin's big enough, but the seats, what is with this? Why is the headrest not high enough? Even for someone at 6 foot, these are going to be too small, and I'm very confused about that. But otherwise, it's just brilliant. It really is fantastic. It's an absolutely awesome car, and I'm loving it. So yeah, just pulling in now. I'm going to have a quick bite to eat, and hopefully go for another drive with Becky, Queen Bee. We're going to go for a joint drive, maybe summarise the car a bit together. But honestly, thumbs up. This thing is, what a piece of kit. I need to find myself 65 grand from somewhere. And look, I'm not just a BMW boy. I know people say that, but this is the first Audi launch that I've been invited to, and ironically, it's probably the best car that they have ever built, in my opinion. Mega. So well done, and thank you very much, Audi UK. I will dream about this car tonight. Cheers guys, please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Please, 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 makes a big difference to the video. And subscribe if you haven't already. Leave any comments below, any questions you would like to ask me. And as I say, if you want more technical specs and stuff, just look them up online or have a look on Tim's channel, Shmee150s, because I know he covers things in far more depth than me. I'm just interested in how it drives. Cheers, I'll speak to you and see you at the next one. Try and reach forward and see if you can get that note, okay? So head back on the seat until we're going, and then you've got... Oh, you got it!
I did enjoy the V8, I managed to drive it, but this car is just super efficient, super light. Super light.
Your cheeks would be like... He was waving at me, wasn't he? It was like one of these waves.